My bad, you guys. Normally I have to click go live before we go live, but this time that's not the case. What up? What's cracking? Glad I didn't do anything incriminating before that went live. Think I was ripping BTs, but what up, Alchemy? What up, Smith? Nice to see you guys here. What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? Everyone, smash that like button if you guys are new. Thank you for I hope you consider subscribing. We got a good thing going here. It's a good place to be. We got cool stories. We got cool friends. We have cool things that we can learn. Thank you guys for considering to do so. The likes, the comments, the shares. Thank you for everything. We're gonna keep it rolling with we're gonna keep it rolling with the live audiobook by our boy Christian Larson. Let's see, where did I put it, my precious? It's ours, my precious. Sacred Text. If you guys want to follow along, just go to Sacred Texts. The gentleman's name is Christian Larson. The book is called Your Forces and How to Use Them. I'll start this in about 5 minutes or so, give people a chance to come in. The Power of Subjective Thought. I believe we're on we're on chapter 6 tonight. This is part 4. If you haven't seen the other ones, be sure to check part 1 through 3. You can find that on my YouTube channel. And grab your oregano, grab your glass of wine, cup of tea. We'll run this. Excuse any loud music or cars firing up in the background. My neighbors have really loud cars and really loud sound systems in those really loud cars, so it could be overwhelming at times. I'm stoked though. This book has been amazing, you guys. It's been if you're just checking in, imagine all the talk of the power of thoughts or the lack thereof, and sort of law of attraction, vibration, mentalism. Think all our favorite topics, only written 80 years before they became popular, written even before the spiritual movement of the 60s and stuff like that. It's an interesting read, to say the least. And as long as everything's good from the audio and all that good stuff from you guys, then we'll run it. You guys. Draco Opus, sorry about that. How's it going, brother? Oh yeah, feel free to support the channel. You can find out how to do so in the description box. And cashapp, Patreon, just my Etsy shop, likes and comments, all those things work. What do you guys say? Should we run it? Should we run the stream? Damn it, I forgot to turn the friggin' mute button off. Let's do that again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm your host, Keith, your man of letters, here to bring you knowledge, information, and at the very least, hopefully a bit of entertainment. This is Your Forces and How to Use Them. Not part 3. It wouldn't let me edit the title before I posted it. Strange. We're actually on part 4. Part 4. Nice. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Love you guys. Thank you for the support. Cool. Let's run it, baby. Chapter 6. The power of subjective thought. The first important fact to consider in connection with the study of thought is that every thought does not possess power. Ooh. Coming in with that sideways fuego out of the gates. I like it. I'm going to read that. I'm going to run that back. The first important fact to consider in connection with the study of thought is that every thought does not possess power. In modern times, when thinking has been studied so closely, a great many have considered or have come to the conclusion that every thought is itself a force and that it invariably produces certain definite goals. This is not true. And it is well, for if every thought had power, we could not last very long, as the larger part of ordinary human thinking is chaotic and destructive. When we proceed to determine what kinds of thought have power and what kinds have not, we find two distinctive forms. The one we call objective, the other subjective. Objective is the result of general thinking, such as reasoning, intellectual research, analysis, study, the process of recollection, mind picturing where there is no feeling, and the usual activities of the intellect. In brief, any mental process that calls forth only the activities of the intellect is objective, and such thinking does not affect the conditions of the mind and body to any extent. I'm curious where he's going to go with this, because so far he's thrown quite the decently sized wrench in the old gears of our traditional spiritual thought, modern, postmodern spiritual thought, right? That your objective thought, reasoning, and things like that have no effect, no power. Interessante. Akjari Jogran, why are you reading from your phone? I'll answer this quick. My laptop runs really hot. The fan is super loud, so if I read from my computer, then my computer's next to my microphone. If that happens, you get a lot. You can hear the fan in the background. Right now, my computer's pushed far away from me, so that you don't hear. It doesn't pick up much of the sounds through the microphone. That's why. So when our channel makes enough money to buy a dope-ass computer that's not going to make that sound, we're going to run this bad boy. Okay, let's carry on. Referring to the mind, and not influencing the mind and body to an extent, speaking of the objective mind, it says, it does not produce direct results corresponding to its own nature. It does not immediately affect your health, your happiness, your physical condition, nor your mental condition. It may, however, affect these things in the long run, and for that reason must be ignored. Interesting. Subjective thinking is any form of thinking or mind picturing that has depth of feeling, that goes beneath the surface in its action, that moves through the undercurrents, that acts in and through the psychological field. Subjective thought is synonymous with the thought of the heart, and it is subjective thought that is referred to in the statement, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. Ooh, I like that. Subjective thought proceeds from the very heart of mental existence. That is, it is always in contact with everything that is vital in life. It is always alive with feeling and originates, so to speak, in the heart of the mind. The term heart in this connection has nothing to do with the physical organ by that name. I'd argue against that with the new studies on how the heart produces an electromagnetic field. However, carrying on, the term heart, quote-unquote, is here used in its metaphysical sense. We speak of the heart of a great city, meaning thereby the principal part of the city, or that part of the city where its most vital activities are taking place. Likewise, the heart of the mind is the most vital realm of the mind, or the center of the mind, or the deeper activities of the mind as distinguished from the surface of the mind. Subjective thinking, being in the heart of the mind, is therefore necessarily the product of the deepest mental life. And for this reason, every subjective thought is a force. It will either work for you or against you, and has the power to produce direct effects upon mind or body, corresponding exactly with its own nature. But all thinking is liable to become subjective at times. All thoughts may sink into the deeper or vital realms of mind and thus become direct forces for good or evil. Therefore, all thinking should be scientific, that is, designed or produced with a definite object in view. All thought should be produced according to the laws of right thinking or constructive thinking. Though objective thinking usually produces no results whatever, nonetheless there are many objective thoughts that become subjective, and it is the objective mind that invariably determines the nature of subjective thinking. Man, this is cool. If you guys have read my book, Jesus Christ, buddy, how much you... I talk about the difference between subjective and objective thought. Objective is sort of your monkey mind, the shiny object syndrome, bounces from one thing to another, really individualizing. Concentrated. But that's the one we have control over also, or we have a sort of immediate control over the conscious objective mind. That is what programs, to a degree, the subconscious mind. The more we choose to focus on something, which is difficult to do, right? It's hard to hold a thought for a long time. The longer we do hold that thought, the higher chances it has of becoming plugged into the subconscious mind, which takes a little while to program. We've talked about this 1,000 times. So the paragraph, or the chapter started out saying the objective mind has zero power, but I think he was just saying that to make a statement. I like his style. I do shit like that all the time. But now he shows actually how it's got the exact equal power, the exact equal importance as the subjective mind, which is oh man, did I lose my spot? It says, though thinking objectively produces no results whatever, nevertheless there are objective thoughts that become subjective. Objective mind invariably determines the nature of subjective thinking. Every thought, therefore, should have the right tendency so that it may produce desirable results in case it becomes subjective.
What are you doing?
I'm on a live right now. What are you doing? Oh, nice. We'll have fun. Bye. In this connection, it is well to remember that subjective thinking invariably takes place in the subconscious mind, as the terms subjective and subconscious mean practically the same. Boom! Absolutely. Though in speaking of thoughts, the term subjective is more appropriate in defining that form of thought that is deep. To define scientific thinking, it may be stated that your thinking is scientific when your thought has a direct tendency to produce what you want, or when all the forces of your mind are working together for the purpose you desire to fulfill. Your thinking is unscientific when your thought has a tendency to produce what is detrimental, or when your mental forces are working against you. To think scientifically, the first essential is to think only such thoughts and permit only such mental attitudes as you know to be in your favor. And the second essential is to make only such thoughts subjective. In other words, every thought should be right and every thought should be a force. When every thought is scientific, it will be right. And when every thought is subjective, it will be a force. Positively refuse to think of what you do not wish to retain or experience. Think only of what you desire and expect only what you desire. Even when the very contrary seems to be coming into your life, make it a point to have definite results in mind at all times. Permit no thinking to be aimless. Every aimless thought is time and energy wasted, while every thought that is inspired with a definite aim will help to realize that aim. And if all your thoughts are inspired with a definite aim, the whole power of your mind will be for you and will work with you in realizing. Speaking of distractions, that saw keeps going off in the background, and it comes in at like the juiciest parts, and I'm like, is that a sign? Like, that spiritual warfare that we talk about, is that part of the thing where they're like, all right, they're not really controlling your mind, but they're sort of influencing your circumstances to a desired effect, causing distractions, one could say. I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much deep state stuff. Give me a second to check the comments, make sure everything's going good. Dope. Okay. Cool, happy to see you guys active in the comment section. If you're just checking in, everyone slap that like button. Let's beat the YouTube algorithm. Okay, let's carry on. To explain further the nature of scientific thinking as well as unscientific thinking, it is well to take several well-known illustrations from real life. When things go... Damn, my neighbor just turned on his friggin' generator. If you guys can hear that generator in the background, let me know. I can close my garage. It's the only way we're getting light at the moment. So it'll be dark, but audio is more important than visual. So if it's too loud, let me know. When things go wrong, people usually say, "That's always the way." And though this may seem to be a harmless expression, nevertheless, the more you use that expression, the more deeply you convince your mind that things naturally go wrong most of the time. When you train your mind to think that it is usual for things to go wrong, the forces of your mind will follow that trend of thinking and will also go wrong. And for that reason, it is perfectly natural that things in your life should go wrong more and more. Because as the forces of your mind are going wrong, you will go wrong. And when you go wrong, those things that pertain to your life cannot possibly go right. Alright, we'll just run it then. A great many people are constantly looking for the worst. They usually expect the worst to happen, though they may be cheerful on the surface. Deep down in their heart, they are constantly looking for trouble. The result is that their deeper mental currents will tend to produce trouble. I'm going to read that again because that stuck out to me. I catch myself doing this sometimes. A great many people are constantly looking for the worst. They usually expect the worst to happen, though they may be cheerful on the surface. Deep down in their heart, they are constantly looking for trouble. The result is that their deeper mental currents will tend to produce trouble. If you are always looking for the worst, the forces of your mind will be turned into that direction and therefore will become destructive. Those forces tend to produce the very thing that you expect. At first, they will simply confuse your mind and produce troubled conditions in your mental world. But this will in turn confuse your faculties, your reason, and your judgment, so that you will make many mistakes. And he who is constantly making mistakes will certainly find the worst on many or all occasions. When things go wrong, do not expect the wrong to appear again. Look upon it as an exception. Call it past and forget it. To be scientific under these circumstances, always look for the best, by constantly expecting the best. You will turn the different forces of your mind and thought to work for the best. Every power that is in you will have a higher and finer ideal upon which to turn his attention. And accordingly, results will be better, which is perfectly natural when your whole system is moving towards the better. A number of people have a habit of saying, something is always wrong. But why should we not say instead, something is always right? We would thereby express more of the truth and give our minds a more wholesome tendency. It is not true that something is always wrong. When we compare the wrong with the right, the wrong is always in the minority. However, it is the effect of such thinking upon the mind that we wish to avoid, whether the wrong be in our midst or not. When you think that there is always something wrong, your mind is more or less concentrated on the wrong and will therefore create the wrong in your own mentality. But when you train yourself to think there is always something right, your mind will concentrate upon the right and accordingly will create the right. And when the mind is trained to create the right, it will not only produce right conditions within itself, but all thinking will tend to become right. And right thinking invariably leads to health, happiness, power, and plenty. The average person is in the habit of saying, the older I get, and he thereby calls the attention of his mind to the idea that he is getting older. In brief, he compels his mind to believe that he is getting older and thereby directs the mind to produce more and more age. The true expression in this connection is, the longer I live. Ooh! So start saying that, you guys. Instead of saying the older I get, say the longer I live. This expression calls the mind's attention to the length of life, which will in turn tend to increase the power of that process in you, so that you can prolong life. When people reach the age of 60 or 70, they usually speak of the rest of my days, thus implying the idea that there are only a few more days remaining. The mind is thereby directed to finish life in a short period of time, and accordingly all the forces of the mind will proceed to work for the speedy termination of personnel existence. The correct expression from now on, as that leads thought into the future indefinitely without impressing the mind with any and whatever. We frequently hear the expression, I can never do anything right. And it is quite simple to understand that such a mode of thought would train the mind to act below its true ability and capacity. If you are fully convinced that you can never do anything right, it will become practically impossible for you to do anything right at any time. But on the other hand, if you continue to think I am going to do everything better and better, it is quite natural that your entire mental system should be inspired and trained to do things better and better. Hundreds of similar expressions could be mentioned, but we are all familiar with them. And from the comments made above, anyone will realize that such expressions are obstacles in our way, no matter what we may do. You know, it's interesting how I tell you guys a lot. I tell myself this a lot too. Oh, thanks, my brother put his car in neutral and pushed it out to the street so he wouldn't start it next to me. It was awfully thoughtful of him. But you know how I'm like, hey, be careful of the movies you watch? I'll say, hey, be careful of the movies you watch and the books you read, regardless of, oh, I know that this is just fictional. It's because we start to get programmed with our language, and we all know language carries a programmable frequency. Prime example. The older I get, I use that I think I just used that phrase today, actually. I was thinking to myself, oh, the older I get, I start realizing, and it's like, I heard that in movies, in books, and my parents probably heard that in movies and books. My friends probably. So that's the little things, you know what I mean? It's the little things that that we don't realize that sneak their way into our subconscious. And if you remember from our readings with Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil, when he's speaking to the devil himself, the devil says, drifters fall into this hypnotic rhythm, the devil calls it. And he says that the hypnotic rhythm is a sort of trance that people get stuck in. Can be for the better or for the worse. And that's exactly what we're mentioning here. That hypnotic rhythm is that subconscious programming. Subconscious is hard to change in any direction. It's sort of, that's where the power's coming from, 90% of it. So be careful, you know. Be careful of the movies you watch, and I guess really be careful, not even so much that, but be careful of the words you use, how you speak, how you refer to yourself. Like John Smith, remember when you first joined the channel, I thought when I read this, Old and Miserable was your YouTube name. And like, I get it, it's cute, you know, there's like a whole joke of when people get older, it's like older and miserable, like whatever, like, jokingly, but it's also not joking at the same time. It's reflecting, it's like a meme, right? People who are depressed make hella funny memes, but the underlying message of these super funny memes is I'm depressed as fuck and I'm alone as fuck, but I'm gonna present it in a funny light. But the subjective thought is real, you know what I mean? So keep that in mind. When trouble is brewing, the average person usually thinks of nothing else. His mind is filled with fear, and not a single faculty in his possession can do justice to itself. And as trouble is usually brewing in most places, more or less, people have what may be called the chronic expectation of trouble. Did I read this? Oh, no, I didn't. And as they usually get more or less of what they expect, they imagine they are fully justified in entertaining such expectations. Fuck, I need to run that back too. It says, his mind is filled with fear, and not a single faculty in his possession can do justice to itself. And as a result, is usually brewing in most places, more or less, people have what may be called a chronic expectation for trouble. And as they usually get more or less of what they expect, they imagine they are fully justified in entertaining such expectations. But here it is absolutely necessary to change the mind completely. Whatever our present circumstances may be, we should refuse absolutely to expect anything but the best that we can think of. The whole mind, with all its powers and faculties, should be thrown, so to speak, into line with the optimistic tendency. And whatever comes or not, we should think only of the greater things that we expect to realize. In brief, we should concentrate the mind absolutely upon whatever goal we may have in view, and should not look neither to the left nor to the right. When we concentrate absolutely upon the greater things we expect to attain or achieve, we gradually train all the forces of the mind and all they powers of thought to work for those greater things. We shall thereby begin in earnest to build for ourselves a greater destiny, and sooner or later we shall find ourselves gaining ground in many directions. Later on, if we proceed, we shall begin to move more rapidly, and if we pay no attention to the various troubles that may be brewing in our environment, those troubles will never affect us nor disturb us in the least. The mental law involved in the process of scientific thinking may be stated as follows. The more you think of what is right, the more you tend to make every action in your mind right. And the more you think of the goal you have in view, the more life and power you will call into action in working for that goal. The more you think of your ambition, the more power you will give to those faculties that can make your ambitions come true. The more you think of harmony, of health, of success, of happiness, of things that are desirable, of things that are beautiful, of things that have true worth, the more the mind will tend to build all those things in yourself, provided, of course, that all such thinking is subjective, meaning below the surface, meaning deeply rooted. To think scientifically, therefore, is to train your every thought and your every mental action to focus the whole of attention upon that which you wish to realize, to gain, to achieve, or attain in your life, and training the mind along the lines of scientific thinking. Begin by trying to hold the mind upon the right, regardless of the presence of the wrong. And here we should remember that the term right does not simply refer to moral actions, but to all actions. When the wrong is coming your way, persist in thinking of the right. Persist in expecting only the right, and there is a scientific reason for this attitude, besides what we have mentioned above. We know that the most important of all is to keep the mind right or moving along right lines, and if we persistently expect the right regardless of circumstance, the mind will be kept in the lines of right action. But there is another result that frequently comes from this same practice. It sometimes happens that the wrong which is brewing in your environment has such a weak foundation that only a slight increase in the force of the right would be necessary to overthrow that wrong completely. In fact, we should find that most wrongs that threaten can be overcome in a very short time if we continue to work for the right in a positive, constructive, determined manner. It is when the individual goes all to pieces, so to speak, that adversity gets the best of him. But no individual will go to pieces unless his thinking is chaotic, destructive, scattered, confused, and detrimental. Continue to possess your whole mind and you will be master of the situation, no matter what it may be. And it is scientific thinking that will enable you to perform this great feat. To make thinking scientific, there are three leading essentials to be observed. The first is to cultivate constructive mental attitudes, and all mental attitudes are constructive when mind, thought, feeling, desire, and will constantly face the greater and the better. A positive and determined optimism have the same effect. And the same is true of the practice of keeping the mental eye single on the highest goal in view. To make every mental attitude constructive, the mind must never look down, and mental depression must be avoided completely. Every thought, every feeling must have an upward look, and every desire must desire to inspire, and same rising tendency in every action of mind. The second essential is constructive mental imagery. Actually, before we start that next massive paragraph, I'm going to take a breather. Check out the comment section. Ooh, it's getting dark in here, huh? Maybe I can use this time to set up the ring light. I'm gonna do that, you guys. I'm gonna take a breather and set up my ring light. How are we doing on battery life? 17%. We're still good. So you guys feel free to use the restroom. Pour another glass of wine. Roll up another J. Pour another cup of tea. And I'm going to set up this ring light. Oh, yeah. Is that better? Oh, quality. Check that out. What up? Nice. Ooh, allow me to take this moment to say thank you guys for supporting the channel. I think I already got a cashapp donation. Thank you kindly. If it's easier to do the super chats, that works too. Super chats. Thank you guys for supporting. We've got 13 likes. It's a good number. I was born on the 13th, so thank you for that. And thanks for just being here, period, and sharing the love and sharing the attention and really adding to the space. You know what I mean? I have my garage set up, and I only use my desk for my mana letter shit. So whenever I look at the desk, I just get hit with a wave of, oh, dope. I get that textual, oh, I could feel the wood and I could smell the candles and like the whole vibe of the garage. It's cool, but like we've created that, you know. So thanks for helping along the growth. In other words, thanks. Thank you, Outjar. I'm glad you like the locks. They've been getting a lot to handle lately. A lot to handle. But, thanks for chilling, Draco. You're probably gone now, but thanks for sharing the space. Check out my videos. I'll be loading more soon. And man, letters, whenever you want, let me know. Draco Opus is running some channels. I want to help him out. We'll probably get him on the channel. Just introduce him to the squad. See what he's got going on his YouTube. And it's hey, even if Akjari Drogon say he loves me as a man can love another man in a straight way. Hey, even if it was in a gay way, man, I appreciate it. No worries, but thanks. You've always been holding it down. You've been in damn near every live we've run, Akjari Drogon. Thank you. And chiming in. So thank you kindly. Thank you kindly. We'll let's see if there's anything. If you guys have something super pressing to say to me, like for whatever reason, genuinely pressing, not just a passive thing, highlight my name, because I would like to see it. But I also don't want to friggin' dip through the chat room. Nah, no gay way, man. I'm just fucking with you, man. It's I appreciate it. I'm just busting your balls. Not in a gay way, in the straightest ball busting way, if there's such a thing. If there's like a straight way to bust balls. Does that make sense? Anywho, let's let's go back. Shit, where'd I leave off at? Oh man. Okay, the third essential. You guys ready? Ready to kick this back up? Hot sip sit, Mont Ray. Thank you kindly also for being here. Welcome, welcome. Take your shoes off. Take your shoes off. Stay a while. All right, let's get back to it. The third essential is constructive mental action. Every action of the mind should have something desirable in view and should have a definite positive aim. I don't know if this was a stylistic way of writing during this time period, but I love how often they use definite. A definite and definite mind, definite aim, definite. It's like definite. And you guys know the word define, right? Like a decision, decide, scission, like cutting into. So you cut out everything but what you're focusing on. Incision, cut into, decision, cut out. And that's where maybe he'll give credit to the objective conscious mind in a bit, but that's where it is. That's the role of the objective mind, of the willpower, in other words, is to provide steady concentration on a definite goal long enough for it to become rooted in the subconscious, because again, in the subconscious is where the vast majority of the true power is. The feminine, the chaotic, the pure potential. Like that's the driving force of fucking existence. And the masculine, the conscious, the objective mind, that's just pinpointing. Like, all right, I'm going to look at this. Okay, now the power that births that is the subconscious. Okay, now I'm going to look at this definite goal and only that. Cut out everything else. And that just lines up the channel for the subjective to just pack that channel with power so that the thing can become manifest. Anywho, we must think of sunshine just the same. What? Where did you get sun? I must have skipped something. Sunshine. What are you talking about? Oh, train yourself to. Oh, what? Train yourself to face the sunshine of life regardless of circumstances. When you face the sunshine, everything looks right. And when everything looks right, you will think right. It matters not whether there is any sunshine in life just now or not. We must think of sunshine just the same. If we do not see any silver lining, we must create one in our own mental vision. However dark the dark side may seem to be, we cannot afford to see anything but the bright side. And no matter how small or insignificant the bright side may be, we must continue to focus attention on that side alone. Be optimistic. Not in the usual sense of that term, but in the real sense of that term. The true optimist, I was about to criticize his previous line about only focusing on the bright side. I was going to criticize him, but I thought, shut up, Keith. Who are you to criticize? This dude's been killing it the whole time. Let the man speak, for Christ's sake. And he's already making me glad I wasn't talking shit. He says, think of optimism as the real way, not the fickle way. The true optimist not only expects the best to happen, but goes to work to make the best happen. The true optimist not only looks upon the bright side, but trains every force that is in him to produce more and more brightness in his life, and therefore complies with the three essentials just mentioned above. His mental attitudes are constructive because they are always facing greater things. His imagination is constructive because it is always picturing the better and the ideal. And his mental actions are constructive because he is training the whole of his life to produce those greater and better things that his optimism has inspired him to desire and expect. John Smith, you want to do me a huge solid and write page 97 for the book title and shoot it to me in an email or something, because that was beautiful, and that's definitely something that should be taken away and not forgotten in this book. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. You the real MVP. Everyone give Agent Smith a proper shout out. He knows how to work the matrix like nobody else. In this connection, we must remember that there is a group of mental forces at work in every mental attitude, and therefore, if that attitude is downcast, those forces will become detrimental. That is, they will work for the lesser and the inferior. On the other hand, if every mental attitude is lifted up or directed towards the heights of the great and the true and the ideal, those forces will become constructive and will work for the greater things in view. In the perusal of this study, whatever the fuck that means, what is perusal? What does perusal mean? I'm about to look that up. Is that like per usual, but spelled in a gangster-ass way? The action of reading or examining something. All right. We just learned a new word today, class. Hey, Bert. We just learned a new word today, Bert. It's per usual. The action of reading or examining something. I used to be able to do it good. Anywho, so in the perusal of this study, in other words, in the action of reading or examining this study, we shall find it profitable to examine our mental attitudes. I should have just kept reading for the context. We shall find it profitable to examine our mental attitudes closely, so as to determine what our minds are actually facing. I'm going to read that again. That's super useful. In the perusal of this study, we shall find it profitable to examine our mental attitudes closely, so as to determine what our minds are actually facing. If we find that we are mentally facing things and conditions that are beneath our expectations, or find that our imaginations are concerned too much about possible failure, possible mistakes, possible troubles, possible adversity, etc., our thinking is unscientific, and no time should be lost in making amends. When you are looking into the future, do not worry about troubles that might come to pass. Do not mentally see yourself as having a hard time of it. Do not imagine yourself in this hostile condition or that adverse circumstance. Do not wonder what you would do if you should lose everything, or if this or that calamity should befall. Such thinking is decidedly unscientific and most detrimental. If you entertain such thoughts, you are causing the ship of your life to move directly towards the worst precipice that may exist in your vicinity. Besides, you are so weakening this ship through wrong treatment that it will someday spring a leak and go down. Think of the future whenever it is unnecessary for you to give your attention to the present. Sorry, I read that funny. Think of the future whenever it is unnecessary for you to give your attention to the present. But let your thought of the future be wholesome, constructive, optimistic, and ideal. Mentally see yourself gaining the best that life has to give, and you will meet more and more of the best. Think of yourself as gaining ground along all lines, as finding better and better circumstances, as increasing in power and ability, and as becoming more healthful in body, more vigorous and brilliant in mind, more perfect in character, more powerful in soul. In brief, associate your mind with the best that you can think of along all lines. Fear nothing for the days that are to be, but expect everything that is good, desirable, enjoyable, and ideal. This is like a fucking pump-up speech right here, man. I need to say just these few paragraphs and put some gangster-ass cinematic music behind it, maybe some really pretty B film of the ocean and whatnot. This is a banger. This practice will not only make your present happier, but it will tend to strengthen your mind and your life along wholesome, constructive lines to such a degree that you will actually gain the power to realize, in a large measure, those beautiful and greater things that you have constantly expected in your optimistic dreams. In living and building... My dad just got here. Give me a second, you guys. He's probably going to pop his head in. Are we almost done? In living and building... Yeah, this is a long-ass chapter. Alright, hold on, you guys. Is he coming in the garage, or is he going to the front door? No. Okay, well. Hey, Pops.
I got an old one. It's not a new one, but it's brand new still. We never used it.
Oh, that's the one from the house?
It's the one from the store. We had two of these.
Oh, nice.
Dude, this is all they have. Stuff like this is right at Home Depot. Those I call 4 different Home Depots and 3 different Lowe's.
Everyone's sold out of air conditioners. That's funny. Yeah, she's inside. Atlas and Kingston are in there. I think Ricky just left. I don't know where he went. Damn, Makajari is like in it. It sounds like if you guys listening to this after the fact and not reading the comment section, apparently someone casted black magic on Akdrari Drogon, the homie, on that swim fan life. reading your guys' comments. You guys might see me on the news soon. I'm about to jump on my broomstick and yeah, yo, real talk. Agent Smith is by far the best mod ever. I'm like, I cannot. That is an understatement. Dude, look at that lighting on the video. That's nice. I wish you guys could see it as crispy as it actually is. That would be really cool. All right. Okay, let's run it. In living and building for a large... Oh, let me go close the door so it doesn't... In living and building for a larger future, we should remember that our mind and thoughts invariably follow the leadership of the most prominent mental picture. The man who clearly and distinctly pictures for himself a brilliant future will inspire the powers of his entire mental world to work for such a future. In fact, all the forces of thought, mind, life, personality, character, and soul will move in that direction. He may not realize as brilliant a future as he has pictured, but his future is certainly going to be brilliant, and it is quite possible, as is frequently the case, that it may become even more brilliant than he dreamed of. When the average mind thinks of the future, he usually pictures a variety of conflicting events and conditions. He has nothing definite in mind. There's no actual leadership, therefore, in his mind, and nothing of great worth can be accomplished. When we look into the lives of men and women who have reached high places, we always find that they were inspired with some great idea. That idea was pictured again and again in their mental vision, and they refused to let it go. They clung tenaciously to the idea and thereby actually compelled every force and element within them to enlist in the working out of that idea. It is therefore simple enough that they should realize every aim and reach the highest places that achievement has in store. Such men and women possibly did not understand the science or the process, but they were nevertheless thinking scientifically to a most perfect degree. Their ambition pictured only that lofty goal. All their mental attitudes were constantly facing that lofty goal, and thereby became constructive, and all the actions of mind directed toward the same goal. Accordingly, everything within them was trained to work for the realization of their dream, and that is what we mean by scientific thinking. That is what we mean by thinking for results. And anyone who will train himself to think for results in this manner will positively secure results. Though in this connection it is well to remember that persistence and determination are indispensable every step of the way. When we do not secure results at once, we sometimes become discouraged and conclude that it is no use to try. At such times, friends will usually tell us that we are simply dreaming, and they will advise us to go to work at something practical, something that we really can accomplish. But if we ignore the advice of our friends and continue to be true to the great idea that we have resolved to work out, we shall finally reach our goal. And when we do, those very same friends will tell us that we took the proper course. So long as the man with ambition is a failure, the world will tell him to let go of his ideal. But when his ambition is realized, the world will praise him for the persistence and the determination that he manifested during his dark hours, and everybody will point to his life as an example for coming generations. This is invariably the rule. Therefore, pay no attention to what the world says when you are down. Be determined to get up, to reach the highest goal you have in view, and you will. There are a great many ambitious men and women who imagine that they will succeed provided their determination is strong and their persistence continuous, regardless of the fact that their thinking may be unscientific. But the sooner we dispel this illusion, the better. The unscientific thinking, thoughts, even in minor patterns, weakens the will. It turns valuable thought power astray, and we need the full power of thought. We need the full power of thought positively directed along the line of our work if we are going to achieve greatly. The majority of the mental forces in the average person are working against him because he is constantly entertaining depressed mental states or detrimental habits of thought. And even though he may be ambitious, that ambition has not sufficient power to work itself out, because most of the forces of his mind are thrown away. We therefore see the necessity of becoming scientific in all thinking and in making every mental habit wholesome and beneficial in the largest sense of those terms. But scientific thinking not only tends to turn the power of thoughts into the right direction, it also tends to increase mental power, to promote efficiency, and to build up every faculty that we may employ. To illustrate the effect of right thinking upon the faculties, we will suppose that you have musical talent and are trying to perfect that talent. Then, we will suppose that you are constantly expressing dissatisfaction with the power of that talent. What will be the result? Your mental action upon that faculty will tend to lower its efficiency because you are depressing its action instead of inspiring those actions. On the other hand, if you encourage this talent, you will tend to expand its life and thereby increase its capacity for results. In this respect, talents are similar to people. Take two people of equal ability and place them in circumstances that are direct opposites. We will suppose that the one is mistreated every day by those with whom he is associated. He is constantly being criticized and constantly being told that he will never amount to anything. He is blamed for everything that is wrong and is in every manner discouraged and kept down. What would happen to the ability and efficiency of that man if he continued under such treatment year after year? Well, he simply could not advance unless he should happen to be a mental giant, and even then his advancement would be very slow. But if he was not a mental giant, just an average man, he would steadily lose ambition, steadily lose self-confidence, initiative, judgment, reasoning power, and in fact, everything that goes to make up ability and capacity. We will suppose the other man is encouraged continually. He is praised for everything. He is given every possible opportunity to show and apply what ability he may possess. He is surrounded by an optimistic atmosphere and is expected to everybody to advance and improve continually. What will happen to this man? The best will be brought out in his power and his ability. He will be pushed to the fore constantly, and he will climb steadily and surely until he reaches the top. Treat your talents in the same way, and you have the same result in every case. To state it briefly, make it a point to encourage your talents, your faculties, and your powers. Give every element and every force within you encouragement and inspiration. Expect them all to do their best and train yourself to think and feel that they positively will. Train yourself to think of your whole system as all right. And deal with your mental faculties in this manner under all circumstances, and deal with your physical organs in the same way. Most people amongst those who do not have perfect health have a habit of speaking of their stomachs as bad, their livers as always out of order, their eyes as weak, their nerves as all upset, and the different parts of their system as generally wrong. But what are they doing to their physical organs through this practice? The very same as was done to the unfortunate man mentioned above, and we shall find, in this connection, one reason why so many people continue to be sick. They are keeping their physical organs down, so to speak, by depressing the entire system with wholesome thinking. But if they would change their tactics and begin to encourage their physical organs, praise them and expect them to do better, and to treat them right from the mental as well as a physical standpoint, they would soon be restored to perfect health. In training the mind in scientific thinking, the larger part of attention should be given to that of controlling our feelings. Great day, Sykes. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to read that introduction line to that paragraph because it was important. In training the mind in scientific thinking, the larger part of attention should be given to that of controlling our feelings. It is not difficult to think scientifically along intellectual lines, but to make our feelings move along wholesome, constructive, optimistic lines requires persistent training. Intellectual thought can be changed almost at any time with little effort, but feelings usually become stronger and stronger the longer it moves along a certain line, and thus becomes more difficult to change. When we feel discouraged, it is so easy to feel more discouraged. When we feel dissatisfied, it is only a step to that condition that is practically intolerable. It is therefore necessary to stop all detrimental feeling in the beginning. It is therefore necessary to stop all detrimental feeling in the beginning. Do not permit a single adverse feeling to continue for a second. Change the mind at once by turning your attention upon something that will make you feel better. Resolve to feel the way you want to feel under all circumstances, and you will gradually develop the power to do so. Depressed mental feelings are burdens, and we waste a great deal of energy by carrying them around on our mental shoulders. Besides, such feelings tend to direct the power of thought towards the lower and the inferior. Whenever you permit yourself to feel bad, you will cause the power of mind and thought to go wrong. Therefore, persist in feeling right and good. Persist in feeling joyous. Persist in feeling cheerful, hopeful, optimistic, and strong. Place yourself on the bright side and the strong side of everything that transpires in your life, and you will constantly gain power. Power that will invariably be in your favor. Life is growth, and the object of right thinking is to promote that growth. Give less time trying to change the opinions of others and more time trying to improve your own life. Life becomes the way it is lived, and man may live the way he wants to live when he learns to think what he wants to think. Create your own thoughts and become what you want to become, because your thought creates you. We all know that man is as he thinks. Then we must think only such thoughts as tend to make us what we wish to be. The secret of right thinking is found in always keeping the mind's eye stayed upon the greater and the better in all things. That slow crescendo on the music on the outro. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Keith, here, man of letters, here to bring knowledge, information, and hopefully, at the very least, a bit of entertainment. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being homies. Y'all is the best. And that officially concludes tonight's reading. 1 and a 2 and a 1, 2, 3. Hey! Oh, bring it back. Yeah. Okay. Word. What? So that was a good one, you guys. I liked it. Seemed long. Did it feel long? That's what she said. Or he said. That's what he said. P did 2020 giving out Jarby a shout out. I see you on all the best YouTubers. Damn. Does that look? Are you saying I'm one of the best YouTubers? P did 2020. Oh, doll. Thanks, y'all. I think, unless you weren't implying that. Oh, P did 2020. What'd you get from the Etsy shop? Nice. The music was putting you in a different state. I know. I try. Sorry, I don't have more variety in music. There's only so many good copyright-free bangers that I can use out there. But yeah. Oh man, hunger just kicked in hard. Ow! What the hell was that? My candle melted and I was running. I didn't realize it and I just spilled the wax all over myself. So what did you guys think? Did you like the text? It was nice, wasn't it? I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Oh, sorry that package took you so goddamn long, P did 2020. My bad. How nice is that swoon potion though? How nice is that? Oh my god. Oh, I love it. I love it. It smells so good. The base of that swoon potion, or it's swoon perfume. We're talking about I make a couple different straight up OG perfumes, like botanical, and some not botanical, some straight up animal based perfumes. Definitely not vegan if you're into the vegan thing. But oh fuck, it's tonka bean. So that swoon perfume you got from me was about 70-75% tonka bean, which is the most divine smell. One of the most divine smells I've ever smelled. Oh my god, it's so good. It's like vanilla almond sweetness or something. And then I have Boswellia freriana, which is a low-key type of frankincense out of East Africa. So that's sort of the heart note of the perfume. And what else do I use? For the top notes, I use rose oil, of course. Just a couple though, because that rose oil can be strong. It's only like 2 or 3 drops of rose oil compared to like 25 of the tonka bean, for example. I think I have a dash of lavender in there. And sometimes white sage. I think I used white sage depending upon my mood. Each perfume's a little different. But I like the white sage because it gives it just as a top note. Like 2 or 3 drops of it. As well as a lavender, because it gives it lavender's kind of heavy. It's like a feminine, but it's like a heavier note, if you will. And the white sage is just, I don't know, it just does a whole nother gangsterness to the whole batch. I love it though. That swoon perfume comes out nice as hell. Male colleagues by lingering around all the time. Hell yeah, nice. Mo blah, not long enough. Oh! Coming in with the heat. You're welcome, Julio. Thank you, too, for being here. Where's... Am I the only one burning that oregano for the readings? How many of y'all burning that oregano with me? Oh, for those of you that are still here, we're still running the... I haven't been promoting it because Andres has been filling the thing himself seamlessly. But I'm still hosting... Andres, the plant man, is leading the ceremonies at a collective site, and they're still going on monthly out here in California, Santa Barbara, California. Look it up on the maps. Santa Barbara County in California. We're about 2 hours north of Los Angeles, along the coast, more or less. Ayahuasca, pizza toppings. Or I should say not ayahuasca, not pizza toppings, not, what else? Oh, hold on. Oh, Closet Kingston, quick. Oh my goodness. Did you set it up?
Yeah, it's freaking cool in there already.
Oh, nice.
You shower night and go in there and be like,
Oh, no. I was already prepping myself in the head to sleep on the floor in the living room tonight, too. I was like, oh, I could set it up over here.
Cool. It hadn't been started for a while and it's freaking like perfect.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. It's
Nice.
like already, because at first it's not getting cold. And I walk back right now.
Uh-huh.
It's all cold air coming in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
If it blows the breaker, you know where the breaker box is? It's right there.
On that corner of the house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of them will be one way, and then the one that it breaks will be the other way.
Okay.
Because once Ricky turns his on, it shouldn't be on the same power supply. But you know,
Well, see, we do have a lot of stuff running sometimes between the PS4s and the
That's what I'm
TVs
saying.
and the air conditioners.
yeah,
We'll
just
see.
turn off as much as you can when you're running.
Okay.
At night, you shouldn't, you know.
Okay.
If Ricky has that on, you have that on, you should be okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, but
You taking off?
Yeah, I'll see you in the morning.
All right.
Just be there at 8:30.
Okay.
We got one, and then we got one after that.
Okay.
Okay, love you.
All right, love you too. My bad. Where were we? Sykes, my pyramid cancer. Oh, I know, the pyramid candles. Do I have any pyramid candles lying around? I don't. I've got a burnt one. They burn too. I don't know how far down you've burned the pyramid candle, but they burn super cool too. Like you can see it in the camera, but they have like, they sort of have this cool shape to them. Like the 4 pillars stand on the corners as you burn down through the middle. At least that's the idea. As long as I laid the wick properly, it'll burn. Sometimes I fuck up the wick, but that's what it is. Keith, are you by the fires in Cali? No, I'm not. But I was wondering if there was fires because the sun set yesterday and it was blood red. And I thought, damn, that's weird. It's almost like there's a fire. But I can usually smell it if it's that red. Like you can, or see it. But I didn't even know we were having fires. Are they bad? I mean, we have fires every year. I know the media is going to blow that shit out of proportion. Like, California's on fire. Global warming. Oh, the fire. California, bro. Global warming. It's all Trump's fault. If it wasn't for Trump, it's that guy's fault. It's like, no, you guys, it's California. It is an actual desert, and it burns every single year. That's just what it does. Hate to break it to you, but the fires are 100% natural. And some conifers literally cannot reproduce without forest fires. There are trees here in California, their cones will not open, period. Unless it's under extreme heat from a fire, because they evolved along forest fires because they're in an area where that shit happens all the time. Fires burn, heats up the trees, heats up the pine cones fry, open up, the seed spreads across the land. In the middle of the fire, by the way, spreads across the land and survives. Comes back healthier than ever. So while fires are terrifying, oh my god, you guys should see some of these fires though. On the topic, I took such a cool video, but it was on my other YouTube channel. And it was, oh my God, you guys, it was so crazy. I was watching the fire come down a mountain because the wind howls. That's what happens. You have a fire and the wind blows like 70, 80 miles an hour. So it just the fire moves at 70, 80 miles an hour. Literally, it's how fast this shit moves if the wind is blowing that hard. And the grass is dry enough, which right now, this time of the year, it is. So the whole mountain is on fire. It looked like the fucking gates of Mordor. The flames are 3-4 stories high. So imagine you see the flames that flicker in your fireplace. They sort of separate every once in a while and it'll jump. It'll jump as it goes up. Imagine that little jump as it goes up, but it goes fucking 30 feet in the air. It's just like a 30-foot single flame. And there's 1,000 of them. And you see it looks like a giant snake where the edge is. A giant fucking fiery snake. And it runs down, and then the fire gets so big that it creates its own microclimate, its own pressure system, so it makes the wind even faster, and it howls and it whips. And I had never seen this before, but I haven't seen too many fires this size up close. I was on the other side of the freeway recording, and the whole mountainside's on fire, and in the middle of the mountain, it forms a square. Not perfect, but almost a perfect 4-pointed square. And I don't know if you can see my hands, each corner of the square had a line of fire just going to the center. And I don't know how the fuck this happened, but a tornado of fire formed in the center of this square, and it was being fed by the 4 corners of the square. The 4 corners were like fueling it with this jet stream of fire, and in the middle they all met, and there was a tornado, you guys. Imagine the Tasmanian devil, and it's just running around. It only stays inside the square because I'm guessing that's where the middle of the little pressure cell was. And it's just going left, it's going right, it's going up, it's going down. We're all looking at it. There's like 15 of us because people out here are crazy. Like, we don't give a fuck. It's like, fire, like straight into the fire. And we're all just staring at it with our mouths open going, this is the craziest thing. We're all looking at each other like, is this really happening? And at that moment, a little piece, that's how it happens. A little piece of fire just floated down to our side of the freeway, bloop, hit the ground, and went up in flames. Immediately, it was to like a little 10-foot square patch. And it jumped the freeway. It jumped the freeway and burned on both sides. We all had to evacuate. Because the fire is all chilling there. The fire trucks, they let it burn for the most part. Like, this area was in the middle of this stretch of freeway where there were no houses. And where there were houses, the fire trucks are chilling. And then everyone just sort of spectates until it gets too dangerous. And at that point, the fire trucks were like, y'all gotta leave. You're gonna die. Because you're in the middle of a fucking forest fire. They call them brush fires. It's not a forest fire where I'm at. Because we just have waist-high grass as far as the eye can see. And you just look at it sideways and that shit catches on fire. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. If you guys ever want to see a wildfire, plan to come to California now, late summer, fall. All the way through fall is all fire season because we get what they call the Santa Ana winds, and it's just hot, dry air that howls from this place called Santa Ana, I guess. I don't know why the fuck they call it that. And then fire! I read that Northern Cali was being evacuated. Well, Northern California is massive, so I don't know what that means. Like the entirety of Northern California? That's San Fran, Sacramento, Chico, Sonoma, Mount Shasta, and all that area. Humboldt. I hear tornadoes are man-made too, damn harp. I'm sure some tornadoes are, but tornadoes definitely existed prior to humans, right? It wasn't like human came and then the tornado came, right? That's not how it worked. Ooh, my email is keithcipresgarcia 808 at gmail.com. That's my email if anyone needs to get a hold of me. Do. Oh, my brother's here. Let me see how I'm trying. I think tomorrow. Oh yeah, that was a long ass chapter. By the way, the next chapter is called "How Man Becomes What He Thinks," which sounds super interesting. And it's shorter than tonight's. The world's wisdom in the palm of your hands. That's cool. Cool. Should we end it? Should we end it? Alright, so what did you guys take away from the reading? What I took away was I'm going to pay more attention to I don't want to say everything. I don't know. Might have to go over that. It's kind of hard to read and out loud. But yeah. I don't know anymore. I don't believe anything all of a sudden. That's funny. Oh wait. By Corona. You guys are all over the places. Harp made Corona too? Is that what just happened? And Lion King. Oh, they have the book that I'm reading on YouTube already? That's dope. Oh, think scientifically. Julio, there you go. Nice. Julio, what does it mean to you to think scientifically? What does it mean to you to think scientifically? Or to all you guys, after hearing that passage, that chapter, what does it mean to think scientifically? Just have little worksheets. What is objective thought? What is subjective thought? According to this book, at least. According to how Larson defines it. And then what that means to you in contrast to other ways that it's been used. Oh, there's a place in Cali called Corona. Corona's SoCal. That's not Northern California at all. Yeah, it's hot as fuck out there. Corona's like balls deep. Balls deep in desert land is Corona. There's a fire there every year. I'm sure they're like, oh, fires in Corona. I guess it could be symbolic, but like I said, there's forest fires here every year, and there has been for forever. Since the last ice age, I guess 10,000 years. To think constructively. Oh, think masculine. Well, I guess to think both masculine and feminine, but the distinguishing point that he made was that that the objective thought doesn't have any power. So he said subjective thought is where power comes from, because subjective thought is closer to source, and source is where all power comes from, period. And that objective thought has zero power. But then later on in the chapter made sure to state that our subjective thought comes from the objective. That what we choose to focus on, aka our objective, our choice, our will, our focus, that is what becomes plugged into the subjective. So masculine and feminine, both the precise and the unlimited, yeah. It's in Corona and San Andreas. There's a town of San Andreas, California. There's a San Andreas fault that runs through the entire state. Oh, nice. Founded during the California Gold Rush. That's cool. Correct. Good answers, you guys. All right, I'm going to take off. We've slowed down, which means it's time for food. Chill boy has the hunger. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for supporting. Don't forget, if you guys want some candles or some homemade perfumes or some hydrosols or some frankincense resin. What else do we sell? I got frankincense seeds up on the Etsy shop now. If you guys want to grow your own frankincense trees, Boswellia sacra, debatably the most desirable variety of frankincense period, is produced by the seeds that I have, called Boswellia sacra, from Oman, out in the Middle East, mostly Oman, a little bit of Yemen, maybe debatably Eastern Africa, but they say that might be Boswellia Qatari, but some are like, what? We think those are actually the same tree. Some friends become enemies, some enemies become friends, but I'm stoked on them. They're awesome, and they've been growing like crazy. We've had great results with them. They typically have 8% germination rate. These ones have been popping up at 20% for some people. It's been beautiful. But yeah. The Patreon's there. Thank you guys for jumping on the Patreon. We've been killing it on the Patreon. If you order from my Etsy shop, if you have ordered, if you plan on ordering more in the future, there's discounts on my Etsy shop via the Patreon. $10 gets you, no, I think $5 gets you $5 on Patreon gets you 10% off the shop of whatever the hell you order. As long as you have the coupon code. Some people have been unsubscribing from my Patreon, but still using my Patreon code. I haven't said anything yet, but I see you. And then $10 on the Patreon gives you 20% off the Etsy shop. Whatever the hell you want to order, forever, unless I change my Patreon code and you're no longer on Patreon, because I might do that, but I don't have it in me yet. Anywho, I believe that covers all my self-promotion. Thank you guys. Maybe tomorrow we'll run another one. Finish this book soon. Renee Lottie. Oh man, three of my favorite emojis used to be the green heart and then the palm tree and then a green heart, and that was like my go-to emoji spread for a good year and a half. I haven't seen it in a while, and you brought me back, Renee. You brought me back. Okay. Take it easy, you guys.